Good evening everybody and welcome to the studio this evening. Well, as is usual, we are just going to carry on with where we left off from last time. And since the cat has been sleeping on this board, I am going to try and brush off the cat hairs because I do not want that smell of burning hair. It smells horrible. So I want to get rid of as much of it as I can. Right. Let's just have a look at my sketch. For this. Okay. Basically, more hair. More hair. Okay. Yep, I do have this turned on. Excuse me, sorry, I've just had my tea and it's just sticking a little bit. Yeah, so there's, yeah, okay. Just examining the fur directions. Chileras, is that Chileras? Yes, hello there, good evening and welcome to Greece. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome from the UK. Quite like Greece, been out to some of the islands quite a lot, especially one of them. Quite often spend holidays in Crete. So I'm just working on the sides of the face, which I'm doing using a fur texture. So I'm actually creating lines in the wood as I do this, and that more closely resembles fur, or it gives it a better fur-like look. just up there, there's basically a jaw muscle, goes alongside the jaw. So I just want to make sure that I capture that particular area because that's quite distinctive. Captain Derby, good evening, welcome to the studio. Ow. For some reason tonight I seem to be getting my fingers over the top of the heat source on this pen. It's like holding your fingers over the top of a candle. Because there's a slight curve out of the light just around the edge of this muscle, I just want to add a little bit darker colour just around this area here, because with it being tipped slightly out of the light, it's slightly in shade. If I just add a little bit more colour, it'll look darker and it will give an impression of it being tipped out of the light. LDLH, good evening and welcome to the studio. As we get there, they come out from the eyes and then these basically start to come down like that, and we get to about 45 degrees as we come down there. So just following the hair directions. Thank you very much, Elder H. Now, because of the nature of the way in which I'm creating this texture, it does change shade as I move it around, more so here in real life. But so we may have to do a little bit of work to just adjust that. It basically is because the way in which the grooves are being created, the colour gets applied to one side rather than the other, so it looks darker from some angles than others. So to even it out, it's really just a case of colouring the opposite side. And the hair more or less will come down, yeah, more or less comes down towards here. And then becomes sort of less at an angle. Yeah, indeed, it did for some people. Of course, those in the UK time zone didn't notice a particular difference. I sometimes do that. The local time here is approximately 20:34, 20:35, close enough. That is both GMT and UK time. It's also UTC time. And your computer certainly should do it. Your phone usually does. I think if they were wrong by now, Fluffy Twiglet, you'd have realised turning up to lectures an hour early would have been noticeable. Still trying to create sort of random start and end positions, which is why you see me sort of almost dotting with this, and that's just because I'm trying to stop an effect where I accidentally create a line. Kikotus says yes, hello and welcome back to the studio. Not sure which way I've done that, so we'll just turn it. MTS Wood, hello, welcome. Welcome to the studio. I was watching you doing your large wooden bowl last night. And trying hard to get rid of your glue line. I believe you succeeded in the end, if I remember rightly. For those of you who are watching that don't know, MTS Wood there is also a streamer. He streams wood. Well, I don't know if you stream anything else, MTS Wood, but I've only ever seen you creating items on a wood lathe. Absolutely amazing to watch chunks of wood being turned into vases and bowls and other nice shapes like that. Yeah, I saw you struggling with it. Haven't you been? Well, I suppose it's like everything else. It costs money, doesn't it? But I have seen for some layers sort of curved tool rests. Oh, I hadn't noticed that. In English, please, Vanica. uh, to be honest, I wouldn't know. The last time I saw one of those was about 40 years ago when I was still at school. Never used one. I never did any wood lathe work. I only did metal lathe work. But I kind of, I'm not about to, but I kind of keep looking at wood lathes. I can't afford one at the moment and won't be able to for quite some time. But I do keep looking at them. Creating things like bowls and stuff is quite fascinating, and I'm kind of would like to try, but not for a while. It's kind of unfortunate the time zones because, of course, I get to see you, like I got to see you do some of that bowl, but I don't know if you finished it last night. But I say last night because it was night for me. But I don't usually see the end of your streams, so. Okay, that starts to want to come this way a little bit. Those bots. You don't need to worry about. Well, from the perspective of watching me MTS, you don't have to worry about that. From the perspective of a power outage is causing you a problem, then yeah. I think it sounds like you have that as a problem quite regularly. It is something. Luckily, it's something I don't experience very often here. Of course, now I'm tempting fate, and in a minute we're probably going to have a blackout, but. I take it you're enjoying the larger bowl sizes. they certainly look more. Well, I'm going to say they kind of look more impressive when they're large, but. I mean, I know. They truly speaking, they, yeah, they, like your vases with all the curves on it. They are sort of more impressive because of the skill that's needed to keep those curves and smooth. But yeah, they are a worker. So yeah, I never actually realised it was that required that much sort of weight. I mean, I suppose it's obvious now that I've seen you using the of course the tools with the long handled tools, just why they are that long. But okay, Fuffy. Yeah, but I kind of never realised that there was that much force on the end of the tool. Of course, I've never experienced it, as I say, since I only ever did metal lathe work. That's not a problem for the well, other than breaking a tool, but it's you're not holding the tools themselves. So yeah, or saves on gym fees. Save money on gym fees. Get a wood lathe. Seems like a good trade off to me. Wonder if that'll work on Lady Zara the next time. Next time we're talking about maybe losing a bit of weight. Yeah, I mean, I think you were mentioning, with the actual rotational speed or rotational force certainly on the sides of that bowl, the angular velocity must be quite a lot actually. So, it shouldn't be surprising, but. Well, you certainly seem to be able to handle it without a problem in terms of keeping it on track. Of course, that's the in some ways that's the definition of skill, making something look easy to the point where everybody thinks, hey, they could do that until they try. I have had somebody do that with seen me doing an airbrush thing and doing quite a fine line and thinking, oh, it's dead easy. It was dead easy, and why do you going on about it? Here's a piece of paper. You try it. Completely white, complete large sort of 2-inch. Weren't you supposed to do a fine line? Yeah. Keep you cool while you're straight. I do know what you mean by that, but I kind of. I guess I've kind of got over the embarrassment of having a mistake on stream, and it's kind of like, well, that's part of it. Sometimes it doesn't go as you want it to, or something unexpected happens, and for me, I just got I'm not an expert. I'm learning, and everybody out there is seeing me make the mistakes and trying to correct them, and you know, that's kind of what it's was. And once I got over that sort of mentality of I didn't make any mistakes, it was just, you know, so what. Not at the moment. Well, sort of, but not quite. I am still working on the website, which should show when I finished it all the past works. The photograph there that keep popping up actually on the side there are actually all the past stuff. I think there's just about a photograph for most things, probably not the most recent stuff, but it does show. And there are also images from the shop as well, so the shop shows the jewellery stuff. Of course, the jewellery doesn't take as long to do, so there's more of those than there are of things like the pyrography, but a lot of the stuff does pop up there. I must update it and add in the most recent stuff as well, but yeah, I can understand that. But I mean, what you succeed in showing is that the quality that you're applying to it. You know, it's not coming out right, and you're determined to make it right, and have the quality that you want. And you know, sometimes I think that illustrates more about your approach to quality than it would do if it went perfectly. Yeah, it's getting over that a little bit. I think I mean one of the things, because I used to work in sales, so one of the things that I learnt there, or two of the things really, is there is always somebody that knows more than you do, always. And if you try and bluff your way through it, shall we say, then those people will sit on you hard. If so, you know, it's not worth it, because you never know who they are until it happens, and then it's too late. The other way, of course, is there are a lot of people out there that don't know as much as you do. You only need to know a little bit more than the person you're talking to for them to consider you an expert anyway. So, you know, it's a lot of the time is as well is, you know, if you as an illustration. Here's a pyrography picture. Okay. Now, I don't know what you think about that, and I'm not sure whether I've shown you this one before. But you can look at that, and if I keep my mouth shut, you probably think it's a decent sort of picture. Obviously, you might have an opinion about it, but it's there is a mistake on there. To me, quite a big mistake. And if I don't point it out, most people don't notice it. And if I do point it out, I can, if I really want to, I can explain it away, so that anybody that does notice it before I mention it, I've got a reason for it being like it is. Old Widow. Not sure I understand that one. Indeed, because Captain Dobie's been around when I've mentioned it before. All the propellers are stopped. And of course, if you were in real life, there's only two. There's only the only time propellers are stopped when something's in flight is when all the engines have failed, basically. And so, you know, what I should have done with these is not show the propellers at all, because they're spinning so fast you wouldn't see them. The fact that the stationary is, I was looking at a photograph, and a photograph, of course, freeze frames them, so you do see them. but it's either a video or a photographic artifact to see the propellers in flight. And so, you know, all I do is say, of course, you know, all 4 engines have failed. You know, it's out of fuel. That's why the propellers are stopped. It's coming in for a landing. It's gliding in. But, you know, if you don't point out your mistake, nobody knows it. Oh, Black Widow. Don't know that one. Yeah, but once I've drawn them in like this, it's really hard to blow them afterwards. You know, that should have been done first. Is the blurring, you know, so that they didn't wouldn't be as dark. You know, obviously the blurring is see-through basically. But yeah, so yeah, no, this, as it says, Avril Lancaster. I don't know. The Black Widow is a name that I'm aware of. So. I tell you what, with players, getting that wing angle was the hardest part about this. That's really hard to do. When the plane's at an angle, and well, it's at 2 angles. It's banked obviously, and what on earth was that? It's sort of banked and tipped. So that dihedral was a real pain in the neck to get on there. Yeah, you could do Captain Derby, that's true. But basically what it means is, MTS, that only somebody who knows more than you do would know the mistake. And it's the same with what you were doing there. I wouldn't have known that there was any problem at all with that glued line. But you were telling us. Painting with heat, Fluffy Twiglet, with heat, not fire. Okay, maybe I'll consider that next, Captain Derby. I do like a lot of the, well, I was going to say a lot of the World War II stuff, so something like a Spitfire or a Hurricane perhaps. But there again, I also like something like a Vulcan Bomber, or maybe even Concorde. So maybe, we shall see. You'll probably have Fluffy Twiglet then going, not another plane. I'm avoiding the railway engines for a while. Oh yeah, the Mosquito. Yeah, that's another candidate with the twin booms. I don't actually like the shape of the 109. I'm not particularly being nationalistic in it. I just don't care for the shape so much, but. But I guess there is an element of the fact that I obviously will see more English aircraft in the sky, you know, in air shows and things like that, than I will see some of the other nationalities. So, yeah, they're the ones with the gull-shaped wings, aren't they? I believe. Yeah. I also quite like helicopters as well, but I just like helicopters. But some of the older American helicopters are quite quite fascinating shape wise. Yeah. See, that's actually, in the hardball's not bad for it as well. That's one of the nice things about pyrography, doing things like World War II, or even older, really, things. And that is, of course, it tends to look a little bit like a sepia, a photograph, that the older photographs, where the effective, the black and white gradually fades into the sepia tone. So they kind of do some the KA-50. Okay, give me a clue, Captain Dobie. There is, I don't know what the model is, but there is one of the Russian ones that's effectively like a sky crane. It's a really weird sort of skeleton shaped thing, but extremely large, which is quite a fascinating thing. Yes, that the shading around there needs a bit more work on it. It's a bit light, but we will come back to that, to evening out the shade a little bit. I have to keep reminding myself not to try and make sure I don't stop and start in the same place every time. You can't quite see it, but like around there you can see there's kind of an edge, and the same just around, so there's almost a round circle, and that is just because as I've been doing the strokes, I've started and stopped in the same place each time. And what that does is it creates a slightly darker edge, and you start to see the lines like that. And to some extent what you're seeing going up there is also that sort of effect. To coaxials. Okay. In theory, they're less prone to coaxials are less prone to battlefield damage, because if you damage the tail rotor on a normal helicopter, then obviously it's got a problem. Whereas the big main lift rotors are more able to handle it. Seems like the Ospreys are interesting aircraft as well with the tilt rotors. That area is sort of going to be a bit darker around there. Okay, sort of. It's more a case of I'm either just fascinated by the pure mechanics of it, or I just like the look. I've no idea what models they are, how big they are, or anything like that, you know, or what engines have got in them. Like a banana. No, no idea, Captain Derby. You had some things like the flying bedsteads, which we used in the space program. The A-10s. Warthogs. If I remember correctly, and why I remember that, I have no idea. Although, well, I'm going to say for many years I've flown model aircraft, remote control aircraft, so I sort of have an interest in them from that perspective of being able to actually pilot the things. The only problem with having music on is I tend to pyrograph to it. Okay, that shading is working, so I need to work a bit better. Sometimes though the rhythm kind of is it tends to lead you into mistakes if you're not careful. I just find myself sometimes as I'm doing this, and I'll find that I'm in time with the music, and it's amusing, but so now I need to do is just extend that sort of ridge a little bit. Not much, because that's just about okay. Okay, Aldo H, have a good evening and thank you very much. I probably just want to ease that transition around there just a little bit. Oh, you're not that consistent with Moobot just yet, Aldel H. You might be getting there, but I think Free's still beating you. Okay, so okay, MTS, have a good evening if you don't get disturbed again. But thanks for dropping in and saying hello. Nice to see you again. And you too, keep up the good work. It's fascinating watching those pieces come together. Okay. So that's more or less a jawline. So Effectively, there's not a lot of difference. I do wish it wouldn't do that. Let's have a look, and that beep, if you heard it, was actually the water flow warning out of my PC. It does that when the flow sensor thinks there's no flow, or rather when the controller sees no pulses coming from the flow sensor. That's something I'm going to have a check of. It's going to come all the way down to the chin. Okay, just working my way up around the what is effectively the jawline, although some of the jaw is sort of going to get hidden in the mane here, but this is just kind of sort of the jawbone and muscles that got the side of the face up here. That close your jaw. And now that the face is starting to be filled in, it's starting to actually look more lion-like, if that's an actual word. One thing I like about sort of animals, or animal fur particularly, I guess, or well, humans would be the same, is that you know, even smoothly coloured fur isn't. It's got all sorts of little tiny highlights and slight variations in tone and pattern, which when you're doing pyrography makes it a lot easier to do, because a little tiny variation in colour isn't important. It's actually part of the image and something that's actually desirable sometimes. So all those little tiny variations of colour that I am purposely putting into this to make it look more lifelike comes with skill, you see. Yeah, and a great big dash of luck. Do need to adjust that shading a little bit. I think it looked okay earlier, it looks a little bit off now. Again, it's one of those things with and it's the same actually with other black and white or monochrome styles, and I do come across this both with the scraper board, and I have come across it with airbrushing. And something that looks okay, like that area for example, was fine until I started doing this, and it changes because it's now got a different contrast against this edge. It's actually making that look darker than it was before, which makes this look lighter, and therefore I can see the transition more than I could before. And it's just one of those things you have to get used to, but that's one of the real sort of challenges in monochrome work, is often changing one thing can make you then have to change, in some cases, quite a large area of the rest of the picture just to adjust all the contrasts again. So sometimes like that I don't necessarily bother until I've got things around it, and then I'll sort of do a final colour adjustment or contrast adjustment later on. Actually, what I should do is erase that pencil line there before I cook it into much, which I think I almost have done. just around there. Okay, looks like I got away with that. I'm roughly sticking to the edge of the jawline, but I'm not being particularly scrupulous about stopping exactly on the line. We are talking about fur. It doesn't stop in a perfect place. You know, some whiskers do carry on, and some are longer than others, and others do stick out. So again, I don't, you know, it's saving me trouble, but is also more realistic by not stopping dead on the line. Okay. Exilian, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Nice to see you again. Transition's a little bit too abrupt. Let's see if we can just ease it out a little bit. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of shadow in this bottom area. We'll mention it again at the end of the stream, but just to remind everybody, there's going to be no stream tomorrow, and neither will there be a stream on Friday evening. I'm not going to be around, so the next stream after once we finish today will be on Saturday, where we'll be doing, guess what, more of this. I'm not bored with it yet, so we're okay. There you are then, Exilian. You don't get to miss anything. Right, let's darken this down. There's quite a high level of contrast just across there, and it's too much contrast. I need to spread that out a little bit, darken this down. Yes, but they'll get done right at the end, Exilian. Mainly they're either white or they'll show up white against the end, against the fur. And I'll actually do that with a scalpel or a similar sharp point and actually scratch them in. And the scratching will go right through all these areas of colour, scratch the colour off because it lies on the surface, does the colour, revealing the wood underneath, so they'll actually pop out looking white. But they'll sort of, as I say, I'll get done on the end, at the end. There's quite a lot of white fur here on the chin as well, which will go over into the background area. So again, once I've done the background, what I'll do is come back with a sharp point and scratch white fur basically into this area around here as well. Yeah, that's essentially what happened with Junior here. They were done and then they were scratched in afterwards. Thank you. Yeah, they could be. It could be quite hard to get right because of all the loose but very fine hair in them. It was kind of the same again. The same with the pussycats. Their ears are quite difficult to do like that as well. At the moment I'm trying to get this effectively to look a little bit more darker than looks as though it's more in shade than it is doing at the moment. Ow, that's warm. That's looking more like shadow. Yeah, it's quite dark around this area here. Okay, now let's just adjust this colour a little bit. Hmm. Might adjust that a little bit more, but we're not too bad at the moment. Okay, and then we're going to come up into heat is getting hot. Well, heat normally does get hot, but you know what I mean. Well, it's 10 o'clock, folks, and I think that's probably enough for tonight. My finger's getting a bit hot, but I think that's probably enough for tonight. I've actually done quite a bit of fur on that. Ooh, exercise my hands. Oh, excuse me for that. So not done too badly at all. I quite like that effect. I'm still not sure whether this is a bit too light. It probably is, but again, we'll come back to it. It really is dependent on angle. If I turn it around, sort of, it doesn't look quite as bad in some angles than others. And again, that's the fact that the brown colour is on one edge of a triangular cut. But anyway, I'm going to just remind anybody that's watching that hasn't checked out the shop for the jewellery. It's there. I highly recommend it. I would do it. It's my shop. So I think there's lots of nice things in it, like candy cane, which is just shown up there. It's a lovely pattern, is that one, and quite good fun to do as well. Buy early for Christmas. They take a little while to make. If you're watching and not following, why you do that I don't understand. But you might want to. That's okay. I do appreciate it for everybody that follows, but if you don't want to, that too is okay. If you'd like to be notified of when I go live, you can also watch me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. A tweet goes out when I go live, as well as messaging from Twitch itself. The name there is @Zaraganat, of course. Details of that will be on the end plate. They are below the stream window as well. If you just want to catch me on my next stream, which is not now until Saturday. Saturday will be the next stream, 8 PM UK time, 2000 hours GMT UTC. 2 hours ago it was 8 o'clock, but the next stream is on Saturday, not tomorrow and not on Friday. Sorry, I am away and unable to stream. Thank you all for watching. It has been fun sharing art with you and chatting, and I'll hope to see you again in the studio, perhaps on Saturday. Thank you very much, and see you again later.